Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. I had someone ask me the other day, I was doing a live stream and a guy said to me, I talked about this in a previous video, I think the previous video before this. He was saying, you know, some dude was talking shit about me and I want to beat him up. I wanted my instinct just tell me go smash him and beat him up, but I know he'd probably call the cops if I did that, so what should I do? And that's when I talked about flooding out the negative by creating massive success. But I want to talk specifically about exactly what he said, which was he wanted to go beat the dude up. That was what his instinct said, but he knows he shouldn't do that. And he's absolutely right. So I want to let y'all know, just in case any of you didn't know, that the whole fighting physical altercation game is pretty much damn near over. I want y'all all to understand that. The fighting, actually getting physical with another person, and this is males and females, because where I grew up, females were getting fights. Females will fight dudes where I come from. And females will fight each other, physical fist fight. If we couldn't handle things through talking, there'd be physical fist fight between dudes, between girls. I seen dudes and girls fight each other. I never got in a fight with a girl, but I've seen girls put their hands up and fist fight dudes straight up. But I want y'all to understand that that whole thing is over. It's over, y'all. Don't do that no more. If you get in an altercation with someone, a verbal altercation, you need to step up your verbal skills so that you can talk your way through that situation. Now, when I say talk your way through, that doesn't mean you gotta become a bitch or let them punk you or disrespect you or anything like that. But you gotta learn how to handle a situation and either diffuse it or get your way or whatever you gotta do without putting your hands on other people. Because these days, all y'all pretty much know this, but I'm gonna make sure I'm saying it on video because I want to make sure I'm on a record with everything that I'm saying. Dude, people are snitching out here these days. I don't know what some of you millennials, I don't know what y'all definition of snitching is, but if two people get in an altercation, so let's say two dudes get in an altercation, I'm talking shit, you talking shit, we both talking shit like we want to do something, then we get in an altercation, and one of us puts our hands on the other guy, and then one of us calls the cops. I call the cops or you call the cops. Whoever calls the cops, you a snitch because you was talking like you wanted it. Now, if you go beat up somebody and they wasn't trying to fight and they're like, yo, I don't want no problems, and then you beat them up and they call the cops, that's not snitching because they weren't trying to fight. But if two people is talking like they want to fight and one person just get their ass whipped and they call the cops, that's snitching. That's against principles as far as how I'm concerned. Now, again, I come from maybe an older generation than some of y'all, but that's the way that we was raised. And again, I grew up in the 90s, basically. I turned 18 in the year 2000. So that's what it was then. Nowadays, there are some people who still operate by those principles. They trend a little bit older, but there's still some young people. I ain't saying all y'all that's young that don't follow those codes. Some of y'all do. And some of y'all might have fathers or uncles who taught y'all those codes or old heads who taught y'all those codes. But it's a lot of people who don't follow those codes. And I've seen dudes 35 not following those codes because they're influenced by the wave that we got going these days. That these days it's cool to, this is what I've seen, especially amongst men. It's cool for a man to talk shit and then talk shit because they think that it's just not going any further than talking shit. But then if they talking shit to a person who is willing to take it further, then all of a sudden is, yo, that's unnecessary. We ain't got to do all that. And if something happens, they call on the cops. But even though you was talking shit. So again, I consider that a violation of the code, the man code, the principles that we all were raised on. I consider that a violation. But these days, a lot of people is doing that and is looked at as cool, is looked at as acceptable. Now, that doesn't mean that I or you need to change our principles or say, all right, well, I guess it's acceptable now. No, if you think it's unacceptable, then it's unacceptable. But that doesn't mean you need to run around with these old school principles and then get yourself in some trouble because you still thinking like 1998 and it's 2020. You understand? You got to update your operating system. So even though you can still look at somebody and say, yo, you violating, if this is the way that it is, you got to know how to operate within that. You understand? You can't just go around smacking people in 2020 just because it was cool to smack people in 1999. You understand? And I've seen so much of it these days, it's ridiculous. We ain't even got to go into detail. But here's the other thing that's different now than it was 2 generations ago is that everybody got these devices. Like you watching this probably on a phone right now. And wherever you're at, how many phones or cameras are there in the room? Like the building I live in is cameras everywhere. Everywhere I go, it's a camera in the gym, there's a camera in the parking lot, it's cameras in the elevator, it's cameras everywhere. As opposed to 20 years ago, it wasn't cameras everywhere. So if you did something to somebody, knocked somebody ass out, and they tried to tell on you, you could just say it didn't happen and they ain't got no way of proving it. Unless they got witnesses, they couldn't prove it. Nowadays, all the shit is on camera. So you can't say you didn't do it because it's on camera. And everybody got a camera. Everybody got a phone, and everybody's phone has a camera. So the whole world then seen everything that you did. Like Beanie Siegel said in the song, keep a number on a high-priced lawyer. It's foul ways nowadays. Everybody saw you. Everybody saw everything that you did. Is all on camera. People is posting this shit on Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok. And before you even get back to your house, people then posted everything that you did. The whole world knows. And if the person you got in an altercation with is of that character, they gonna tell on you. And they got all these witnesses on Facebook and everywhere else that knows everything you did. I know a dude, right? He was telling me how he used to be hustling in the streets. He's not a hustler anymore. He does a lot of good stuff. He's a coach, like a life coach. And he told me how he used to be hustling in the streets. And I said to him, well, no, how'd you get caught? Because he told me he did a bid in jail. He did like, it wasn't long. It was like 2 years. That is long, but it's not, no, y'all know, you know what I mean. He did like a year or two in jail. And I was like, well, how'd you get caught? Well, I first said, what'd you get caught doing? He was like, I got arrested for money laundering. And I said, well, how'd you get caught? And he said, because somebody told on me, man. You know how it is. He's like, these days, the cops don't have to work. The cops don't do work anymore. All the police got to do these days is log on to, I got a computer right here, I got an iPad right here, a phone. He said, all the cops got to do is log on to Facebook or Instagram and just wait for somebody to tell. Wait for somebody to snitch, because everybody's talking, everybody's telling all their business, everybody's talking about all the stuff that they're doing and all the places that they're going, and they end up snitching on themselves because they can't help but to tell everybody what they got going on. And because even though you may not be this type of person, you may not be the type of person who tells everybody what you're doing, everybody else is. Everybody else is telling everything that's happening. So even though you the type of person who don't say nothing about your business, you got 50 other people all in your environment who's telling everything, and you're going to be part of those stories. So that's why you can't do the same things now that you used to do then. I was doing an IG live about a week or two ago, and some dude was coming in there talking. Who knows, he was probably just talking shit, but he was talking about hustling. He was like, yeah, I live in such and such city and we be in the streets hustling. What do you think about hustling and selling drugs in the street? And again, I think he was just talking shit, but maybe he was being for real. But here's my response to that, is the same as what I told you about getting into physical altercations with people. That game is over. It's not over because, listen, it's still drug addicts out there. All right, it's still people who are addicted to drugs. It's probably not as crazy as it was like in the 80s, which was even before I was old enough to know what was going on. But the thing is, everybody's telling. And we know that dealing drugs is illegal. So everybody got a camera. It's cameras on every building. Listen, cars got cameras now. Cars got cameras. Every civilian got a camera. Every civilian got a broadcasting station through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these platforms, YouTube, to tell what's going on. Listen, you putting yourself at way too much risk to get told on these days, let alone anything else that could go wrong. Like you getting killed, arrested, selling to an undercover, getting beat up in a fight. All those things could happen. Those could happen back in the day. But those are the only things that could have happened to you. Now, you can just get told on. Getting told on is the biggest threat that faces anybody who does anything that's illegal. And in case y'all didn't know, to punch somebody in the face because they said the wrong thing to you is technically that's illegal. Technically that's assault, or battery is battery. If you threaten somebody, even if you threaten to beat somebody up, technically that's assault. If they can prove it, technically that's assault. That's illegal. And a person who is of that character, the victim, if they're of that character, they can tell on you and get you arrested. And now you got to go through the system. And even if you got the money to bail out, and even if you got a lawyer and you can beat up the case, you still got to pay the lawyer. You got to show up to court. You got to go through the inconvenience of getting arrested and all this shit you got to deal with. Listen, it ain't even worth it no more. That game is over. So all of y'all who grew up with the same principles that somebody like myself grew up with, depending on where you're from, and you're used to is just being normal for, if men can't handle things through talking, then we do what we got to do from the shoulders. That game's over. Learn how to talk your way through situations. Stay away from people who are of that character. Do not get into, here's the other thing, don't get into no back and forth on the internet, because you know, if any of y'all be on the internet, you watching this video right now, you know that people get a whole lot of courage when they're online. because on the internet, there's no accountability. Like, I could say something crazy to you in the comments right now, and you don't know me, I don't know you, we probably ain't even in the same city, we'll never cross paths physically, and even if we did, you wouldn't be able to identify me. Let's say if I'm in the comments, not if I was on camera, you wouldn't be able to identify me, so I could just talk crazy shit to you, and ain't nothing you could ever do about it. You know that everybody else knows that. Therefore, don't feed into anything people say crazy in the comments. Somebody say something dumb, just delete it, block them, ignore it, whatever you gotta do. Don't go back and forth with people. And all it's doing is getting you riled up for something that can't happen anyway. And even if it did happen, think about the character of a person who's talking crazy to you in an internet comment. All right, do you think they're the same type of person who would say something crazy to you in person? All right, think of the people that you know. Or if you're this type of person who you would talk that shit to somebody's face. You got that kind of character. You would talk shit to somebody's face. All right, if you know you're that type of person, would you still do it on the internet? No. The people who talk shit on the internet are not the same people who talk that kind of shit in real life. A person who would put their hands up and put their hands on another person in real life is not the same individual who's talking shit in the comment section. All right, there's two different characters of individual for the most part. Would you agree? Okay, so since you know this, then that means you don't need to engage with a person who's talking shit on the internet, even though they're the type of person who you know you would beat the shit out of them in real life if you could. It ain't worth it. All right, let that shit go. Delete that person, block that person. Don't let them leave comments no more, and just move on. It's not worth your energy. It's not worth your time. And any of you who's ever dealt with any kind of legal situations, or you know a lawyer, shit, the lawyers ain't cheap. All right, that's costing you money that even if you can afford it, it's costing you money that you could have used on something else. You could have used that on your kid. You could have used that to reinvest in your business. You could have used that to invest in yourself. Don't get involved in any of that. Let that shit go. It's not worth it these days. Everybody's telling, everybody's snitching, everybody got a camera. So the digital world will tell on you even if a person don't tell on you. You understand? All right, let all that go. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.